Okay, open up your science books. I see some people that didn't follow directions. Said put that paper inside your book so that you're all set. You need to clear off your desks. Work that's homework needs to be placed on the floor. Work that's going home should be in a pile. Do you have your science book? Did you take it down to your room? How come it's not in your desk? Is that your Tundra? Why is it on her desk? Did somebody here take Heidi's science book by mistake? No, that's social studies. Let's hope I can find it. All right, Heidi, you're just going to have to lean over till we can find who's got the extra one. It needs to be labeled. You have no labels on that. So, Heidi, how about if you come around right next to Beth or Katie? All right, I would like your attention, and now we turn to page 158 first. On page 158, you did that paper with the man that was here, and you discussed the two types of batteries. What are two types of batteries that we have, Shane?
Dry cell and wet cell.
Right. What kind of batteries do you think you use most? And tell me why. Roger?
Dry cell.
Why do you suppose you use those so much?
Because that's what you use flashlights with, and a lot of people have those.
How many people have toys or something that you have flat batteries in? Good. Let's see if we can go around the room and you can tell me, and we won't repeat, something that uses batteries. Can you think in your heads first? Come up and see if you can come up with, try to think of 3 different things that you know of that runs with batteries that you have in your house. And let's see, let's start with Anthony. Can you give me something?
A flashlight.
A flashlight. Okay, Adam.
Heater.
A heater.
Toy truck. A remote control car.
Okay,
Keyboard.
good.
Maybe a calculator.
A calculator, good.
TV controller.
Yeah.
A racing car track.
Right? Heidi, can you think of anything?
My TV that runs on a little TV in my room that runs on battery.
That's right. Many people have the little portable TVs that they can take. Beth? Camera.
Sometimes cars.
Okay.
Maybe like a little boombox.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
A pocket radio.
Pocket radio.
Like a little toy gun that makes noises.
Yep.
Walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie. Ah, typical. Dave.
Like a little guitar.
Could be.
My sister has a little hair dryer.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Cassette player.
A cassette player. And Anthony, since you had the first one, can you think of one more that we didn't say? Kind of tough, isn't it? Anybody have some things in the room? Look around. Can you find something that's not run by batteries in this room? What, Jessica?
A clock.
A clock. I bet many of you have clocks that have batteries. Even if they're plugged in, sometimes we have what's called a battery backup today. So in case the power goes off, we don't lose the time. Anthony.
My name's Simon.
Excuse? Oh, yeah, Game Simon. Anybody have Game Boy that they take in the car? Does that run on batteries? Yeah, unless you have that charger, but you're still going to charge it, it's going to be a battery. Batteries are very useful today. Put your hands down. And most of the batteries we're going to use are going to be these dry cells because those are easier for us. We can buy them, we can throw them away, there's not a big problem. We just put them in the garbage when they don't work anymore, right? Notice that the dry cell battery, the reason it's considered a dry cell, and I hope you discussed that, is it has a carbon rod that goes down the center. It's filled around with an acid paste, and then the outside has a zinc case. We get a chemical reaction that creates the flow of what? What do we need the flow of to get electricity? Electrons, or else we're not going to produce electricity. When the two are connected, notice, remember, batteries have to be put one on top of another for some kind of connection. And when they switch the switch, we have made the connection. Remember when we made the current? Did we make the direct circuit? When you switch the switch, the electricity could flow and the light came on. Same thing works with the batteries. The paste is not liquid. A paste is like paste, you know, like the type of paste that we use. Toothpaste, does toothpaste run out of the tube if you tip it upside down? Think about it. Tonight, go home, take your toothpaste top off, turn it upside down, don't squeeze it, and see if it's going to run out. That's the type of stuff that's inside. It's not toothpaste, but it's an acid type paste that's that consistency that's inside that battery. What, Anthony?
With electricity, me and my dad have this electric stir trick now that we built. And when you turn the switch on, you turn this knob either way and it makes sounds and it has lights that go on.
So you're using that too. Great. So we have that. That makes that easier to dispose of. It's all inside, right? It's inside a complete case. When the battery dies, doesn't work anymore, we just take it out. Did anybody ever leave their batteries too long in something and then they started to leak and we call it corrode? Adam, did you do that? What happened? What did the battery look like when you took it apart? Took it out?
Yucky.
It was yucky, right? That acid starts to leak out and it starts eating the case of the battery. And then it becomes dangerous. If you take that out and you see that it's like that, you need to make sure you wash your hands real well because you're touching the acid. All right, let's save all your comments. A wet cell battery on the other side, however, has more power. If I brought in a wet cell battery, it would, and we tried to do our little circuits with our little light bulbs, it would blow our little light bulbs because that produces much, much more electricity. But if you're going to start a car or a lawnmower, you need something that's producing tremendous amounts of electricity, lots of electrons, so they use something called a wet cell. The reason it's wet is because the acid is mixed with water. And if your parents have a, a lawnmower, one of the things Dad or Mom has to check every now and then is the water at the right level, because if it's not, the acid will get too concentrated and it won't work properly. So we have layers of lead, we have the acid, it produces the same type of chemical reaction, and therefore you get the flow of electrons. What's the other way that they said you could produce electricity without using a battery? What was it, Danny?
A generator?
A generator. Generators they can use, in this picture they use water flowing over a waterfall that spins something called a turbine, which turns a giant magnet between a coil of wire, and we get the flow of electrons. I wish we could show this. We've tried and tried. We don't have powerful enough magnets to force the flow of electrons. I'm going to ask Mr. Lazazewski if he can get me a stronger magnet so that I can show you what a generator really does. For today, you're going to have to take my word for it, that if we take giant magnets and put it through a coil of wire, we can get those electrons to flow. Very good, you remembered. On the next page, what?
I have a big, huge magnet at home.
Do you? Maybe you can bring it in. Is it powerful?
Yes.
Good. If Mom or Dad will say it's okay, bring it in because we've got plenty of wire. We can try to make our generator so you know how it works. Turn the page. The next page you see something that you're very, very familiar with. That's a magnet, right? Or it's called magnetism. What I want you to do is I want you to look carefully on that page, and I want you to read that page to yourself and explain how those iron filings are showing the magnetic field. So you need to read that page to yourself. What do they mean by a magnetic field? What do you think they mean? We have a magnet. We've talked about magnets. Who can tell me about a magnet? What do I know about this? Adam, give me a fact.
It sticks to metal.
All right, good. It's going to stick to metal. What else? Tell me something else.
North sticks with south.
North sticks with south. What else?
It sticks to steel.
It sticks to steel.
It sticks to iron.
Iron.
And if you put it north to north, it won't stick.
It won't stick if you put like poles together.
If you don't put this certain thing on it and lose all its electrons, then you won't be able to use it anymore.
Very good. All right, this is a very special kind of metal. It's been what we call magnetized. Remember, we have a north and we have a south, and yes, we need the electrons to flow through all the time so we don't end up having a problem. Now, in the book, they said they put a magnet down, and then they showed you a magnetic field. What are they talking about? When you look at the picture, can somebody tell me, what are they saying when they say that's the magnetic field? What are they talking about? Jimmy?
Like a certain area that attracts stuff from a certain part of it.
Very good. Let's see if I can create a magnetic field up here on the overhead. What I have is iron filings. In other words, they've just taken up some pieces of nails or iron and cut it all down, and it looks almost like pepper. You want to be careful, though, that you never get this on the magnet, because it's hard to come off. Am I creating the magnetic field like what you have in the book? Yep, that's right. Okay, the magnetic field is where you see the iron filings doing what? What do you think? What are they doing, Sean?
They're attracting it.
All right, good. That's a good way to say it. You're kind of attracting it. If I take a look at this part out here, can you see this part out here? I'm going to want to hide it. Out here around the edge, are those iron filings doing anything other than just sitting there? How many people think they're just sitting there? How many people think that they're doing something? How many people think that they don't know? All right. Take a look at it. Here, do you see these iron filings doing something in that section? Can you see how they're definitely kind of being pulled one way or another? When I go out here, are the iron filings being pulled anywhere? Or are they just kind of sitting there? Take a look out there. Do they think does it look like they're being pulled one way or another? Or they're just sitting? They're just sitting there, aren't they? That's because those iron filings are beyond what we call the magnetic field. There is no pull out there. The iron filings cannot feel that. Right? It's out of its reach. Almost if I went outside and you people were playing outside, and suppose you were right on the swings, and I came out here and I yelled really loud and said, "Time to come in." Could you hear me? Maybe. How about if I'm out there and I yell and blow my whistle really loud, will you hear me if you're at those swings? Yes. So that would be being within the magnetic field. However, suppose 4 of you go over to the high school, and you're out behind the high school, and I stand here and start screaming for you to come back. Are you going to hear me? I don't think so. That's the same thing that's happening with these iron filings that are outside. They're too far away to be feeling that attraction. They can't feel that pull. But these iron filings that are right here, they're close enough, they feel it. Now, what can you tell me is happening at the poles? First of all, where are the poles? Roger, where are the poles? Good, at the 2 ends. Notice what's happening at the 2 ends. What's happening? Adam, what's happening?
They're attaching.
Good, they're attaching. They're being pulled. These iron filings up here are being pulled to this end. These iron filings down here are being pulled to that end. Does that look like the same that's happening in your book? Look on page 160 in your book. Does it look the same? Do you see how it's being pulled to one end? Put your finger on one end so I know that you know what I'm talking about. Wrong page, Heidi. Okay, now put your finger on the other end. Do you see how the iron filings are being pulled to either one side or another? Now, look at the middle. Look at this middle here. What do you think's happening in the middle? This sometimes happens to people too. Jesse, what do you think's happening in the middle? Katie, what do you think's happening in the middle? Okay, are they going to one side or the other? Staying in the middle. They're kind of stuck in there. They're stuck in between. It's kind of like somebody calls you up and says, "I've got tickets to the best movie. Do you want to go?" And then another friend you had talked at school has tickets to a different movie, and you want to go see that one too. You don't know which one you want to go with, right? You're being pulled between. Or somebody says to you in the morning, do you want to play with me at recess? And then another person comes up to you and says, I have the pass, I can use the computer. What are you going to do? You're being pulled both ways. That's what's happening to these iron filings in the middle. They're being pulled both ways. They don't know how to go. They're mixed up. They're just going to sit there. So the magnetic field is everything around here, but it's most powerful at the two poles. Great. Now I want you to read, look at the page, page 161. Do those magnets look a little different? They look a little bit different, don't they? I want you to read that page to yourself and see if you can tell me what's happening in the first picture and what's happening in that second picture. And you too. What does it look like is happening in that first picture? Todd, what does it look like?
The two poles on the magnetic field of two poles are alike.
Well, you read it right off, but I want you to tell me in your own words what's happening to those iron filings.
This one's going to be attracting one.
Right? Think about what you know about like poles. Heidi, what do you think?
The two ends of the poles are the magnetic thing. They're getting pulled each other together. They're getting pulled together.
In the first picture? In the first picture, are they being pulled together?
Yeah.
You think so? Roger?
The poles are close to each other, so they're stuck in the middle.
A little bit. What are the two poles in that picture? We have to go back, I think. Step back a step. What are the two poles in that first picture, Sean?
North and south.
I don't think that's what it says. What is it? Read for me right under the first picture, Sean, and tell me what it says.
Magnetic field of two poles that are alike.
What does that mean if the two poles are alike?
They're both the same.
And what happens when we have two poles that are the same? Do you remember?
Attracted.
Ooh, I think we forgot what we do. When we have like poles, what happened? What happened, Adam, when we did this with our magnets?
Like they get pulled away.
Yeah, they get pushed apart. The magnets push apart. Remember when we all got our magnets out and we took a south and a south and we put them together? What happens?
They get stuck together.
They get stuck together. I want you to, you're forcing it together. Lay it in your hand and lay it in that hand. No, no. Just lay it in that hand. Bring it together. Are they going together? What are they doing?
Spreading apart.
They're spreading apart. How many people remember that? Remember that when you pushed the magnets together and you couldn't get that push together? So they're pushing apart. That's what's happening. We have two poles that are alike and they are pushing apart. Now let me see if I can see who's who here. Okay, so if I have a south pole here, what do I want to bring in to make it look like that picture, Shane? Whoops, that picture has like poles, a south. Here I come in with a south pole. Watch the screen and see what happens at the end of the magnets. What did those metal filings do? Did they come together? What did they do, Sean? They moved away, you bet. Those two poles that are alike are pushing apart, which is pushing apart the iron filings. The iron filings are saying, no way, I want to get out of here. That is not where I want to stay. All right, if this is a south and this is a south, what is that pole? Katie? North. So now I want to create that other picture. What's the other picture's poles like? Nicole? A north and a south. So if this is a north and a south, and that's a south, this is a What? North. So what do I want to bring in? Because I want opposite poles. South. Okay, watch the iron filings and see what happens on this. What happened? Whoa. What happened? They got together. Look at what the iron filings are doing. What are they doing? Do you see this connection that's happening there? Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it. Okay, magnet. It's not doing what I want it to do because I got too close. Okay, let's see if we can fiddle this around again. Got our, okay, try not to bring it super close. So we've got our, remember it's going to be attracted, isn't it? Can you see the difference? Now you have the iron filings going between them because they're attracted to both ways. At the other end, they were saying, no way, I don't want to be here. They were being pushed apart. At this end, they're being attracted together. Okay, so take a look at that picture. In your book. The first one is like poles. Put your finger on that picture. Like poles. Like poles. Put your finger on the picture because I cannot tell if you're not on the right picture. Look at the space between the iron filings. Can you see that they're being pushed apart? Now take your finger to the other side. The other side, can you see the iron filings forming between? Because they're being pulled together. Right? That's very important. Magnetism. What is an actual giant magnet? What is a big magnet? What? Oh, okay, right. We have lots of giant magnets we use. But can somebody tell me what is the biggest magnet that we have?
The Earth.
The Earth, right. The Earth creates this magnetic field because the inside core, they think anyway, is made up of an iron, which is creating a big, gigantic magnet. What's the poles? Where are the poles of this gigantic magnet? Where are they, Felicity?
Top and the bottom.
Sure, the top and the bottom, the North Pole and the South Pole. North Pole's positive, South Pole's negative. So we have this big giant magnet. We have something that we can really use. Because we know that the Earth is a magnet, we can use this and not get lost when we go in the woods. What could I use if I'm going in the woods? What, Shane?
Compass.
A compass. That's right. And many people have all sorts of different compasses. And that's what a compass looks like. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try to learn how to use a compass because lots of people have these little things and they have no idea how to use it. So if they went out into the woods, they just would walk around silly. Anybody have an idea as to this compass, as to how to use it? Is anybody a Boy Scout so that you know how to use it? How do you use it?
When the arrow is pointing north, you're going north, but the numbers in between, if it's pointing to one of those, you're either going northwest or northeast, and it'll say 20 and 25, 45, and it'll say we're going northeast 45.
Okay. All right. Right. That's true. What can you tell me about the compass's needle? Watch. Watch the compass. Come on. What can you tell me about the compass's needle, Lydia? It is always pointing in the same spot. How many people saw that? Did you see it? It's always pointing that way. What do you think that way is? If it's pointing that way, what do you think?
West.
No. Do you see something on that little compass's thing? And this is kind of turned around. It's pointing
South.
one side is always pointing south, so the other one is always pointing north. Exactly. That needle that's through this compass, one side is always going to point south, one side is always going to point north. So in essence, that little needle is a what? What is that little needle, Heidi?
It's like,
What does it have to be? If one side's always being pulled to north and one is being pulled to south,
it has to be attracted.
it has to be attracted. And what do we call things that are attracted? What are they? Magnets, you bet. If you're going to go into the compass manufacturing business, maybe when you grow up, you would have to find little magnets that you would put inside the compass. Because one side, and hopefully you'll label it like this one did, one side has got to always be attracted north, one side has got to be south. Look at that, though. That doesn't say it's pointing north, does it? Guess what? You have to turn